they ask you to simplify square root of 200. Remember, the first thing we do is think to ourselves, does it have a perfect square root, right? Is there a perfect square root of 200? No. So what do we have to do? We got to find it. We got to break it down. Okay, what multiplies to give us 200? Okay. And what multiplies to give me 20? Okay. Can I break 2 down anymore? No. Okay. I can break the 10s down, but also what do we notice? They make a pair, right? I can put those together right now and not have to break down any further, right? So if I find a pair of 10s, what do I get to do with a 10? Put it on the outside. Did I have anything left over with no pairs? So where does that go? Good. All right. Okay, same thing over here. We've got -3 times the square root of 54. So is there a perfect square root of 54?
No.
No. Okay. All right, then what multiplies to give me 54? 9 and 6. Good. All right. What multiplies to give us 9? 3 and 3. All right. So the 9's gone. We turned it into 3 and 3. And what does that give us? We got a pair. Okay. I could break the 6 down further, but is it going to give me any more pairs? No. So that's my leftover, right? Okay. So I get to take out a 3 because we found a pair, right? But what else was already out there? So I've got a -3, and I'm going to take out a 3. What do I do with those? Multiply them. Very good. And then we have what inside still? 6. So what is -3 times 3? -9. So my answer here is -9 squared root of 6, right? Okay, so that's what we've been doing the last 2 days. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what happens if you have a variable underneath there. Okay? So we know what to do with numbers. We've gotten pretty good at that with all of our practice. Today we're going to talk about what we do with letters. So on number 1, we have the square root of a squared. Okay, what does it mean to square something? Times itself. So this means a times a, right? Okay. Okay, so how many a's did we just come up with? Or a pair, right? And if I find a pair, what do I get to do? Take it out. So I take out an a. Were there any leftovers with no pair? No, so it's just a. All right. Okay, here we've got the square root of a cubed. A cubed means a times itself how many times?
4 times.
3 times, right? A to the third means a times a times a. So I got 3 a's. Okay, do we have a pair? Okay, so I've got 1 pair. So what do I get to do when I find a pair? Bring it out. Did I have any leftovers?
Yes.
Yes, how many do we have left over? 1. So where does that have to go? Inside. All right. Next, we have a to the 4th. That means a times itself how many times? 4 times. So I've got a times a times a times a. We have 2 pairs. All right, for each pair, I get to bring out an a, right? So I would get to bring out an a for this pair and an a for this pair. What do I do with those? Multiply them together. And what is a times a? A squared. Very good. All right. Next, we have a to the 5th. That means a times itself how many times? How many pairs do we have this time? 2 pairs. I got a pair here and a pair here. So when we get pairs, we take them out, right? So a times a. Did I have any left over?
Yeah, you got 1.
We got 1 left over. So where does it go? Inside. And we said a times a is, so this would be a squared, square root of a. Next, we've got a to the 6. So that means a times itself 6 times, right? How many pairs can I find now? 3. Got 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs. So that means we get to bring 1 out for each pair, right? So I've got a times a times a. What would that be? A to the cube, yes, a cubed. All right, and then we got 1 more here. A to the 7th. So that means a times itself 7 times. All right, so how many pairs do we have? 3. 1, 2, 3. So I've got a times a. Any leftovers? 1. So it goes inside, right? So what does this become? A cubed square root of a. Okay. So let's look here and see if we notice any kind of pattern. You guys see how on some of them the answers had a square root with them, like this one and this one and this one, and the others didn't. You guys notice that? Okay. So the ones that did have a square root in them for the answer, what was the exponents that we were dealing with on those? What was the exponent for this one? 3. What about on this one? 5. And on this one? Okay, so 3, 5, and 7. Odd numbers. Very good. Good job, Divine. We're going to have one, right? If you have an odd number, you know you're going to have a leftover, right? Because it's not going to make an even number of pairs if you have an odd number. Good. But if we had an even number, it always works out nice and neat, right? So to keep us from having to draw out the A's and circle them every time, we're going to make up a rule here. Okay, so if it's even, we're going to start with our even powers. This is when they're even, like 2, 4, 6, and 8. That's when it came out nice and neat for us, right? Okay. When my exponent was 2, how many A's did we have out here? 1. When my exponent was 4, how many A's did we have out here? How many A's did we have out here? Yeah. So we had 4, we had 2. Okay, so here we had 2 and we got 1. Here we had 4 and we got 2. Here I have 6 and got 3. So what's happening for a 2 to turn it into a 1, and a 4 to turn into a 2, and a 6 to turn into a 3? Divide by 2. Very good. So that's going to be our rule. So we will divide by 2 to take a square root. And that means there's not going to be any leftovers, right? So no leftover. All right. But for our odd powers, it's different, right? You guys said for our odd powers, we always had 1 left over. Okay, so this was the first one. We had 3. We got to bring out 1 and had 1 left over. Here, we had 5. We got to bring out 2 and we had 1 left over. Here we had 7. We got to bring out 3 and we had 1 left over. So how many is always going to be left over? 1. Okay, so there's always going to be 1 left over. Okay. What is 3 times 2? 6. What's plus my 1 left over? 7. What is 2 times 2? 4 plus my 1 left over. So that must be where it comes from, right? So we're still going to divide by 2, but we're always going to have 1 left over. Good. All right, so first we will subtract our 1 left over. So subtract 1, then divide by 2. and you'll put your leftover inside the square root, right? Okay, so let's give that rule a try. So that way we don't have to write out all the A's and circle all the pairs. Okay, so on number 7, I'm taking the square root of A to the 24th. Is 24 even or odd? Even. Okay, so 24 is even. So for even, we said we're going to do what to the exponent? Divide by 2. All right, so what is 24 divided by 2? 12. So I'm going to have A to the 12th. That's all I got to do. All right. What about here on number 8? The exponent's 31. Is that even or odd? Odd. So now I've got to use this rule. That rule says I'm going to do what to that exponent? Subtract 1, which would give me 30, and then I can divide by 2. And what is 30 divided by 2? 15. So I get to take out A to the 15th, but we're going to have 1 left over, and where does it go? The inside, right? Perfect. Square root. Okay, number 9. Is that exponent even or odd? Even. So what do I do with it? Divide by 2. What is 40 divided by 2? 20. So what's my answer? A to the 20th. Perfect. Okay. Number 10. We've got A to the 47th. Even or odd? Odd. So what do I do with that exponent? Subtract 1, which would give me 46, which, yes, when I divide by 2 gives us 23. So I'm going to have A to the 23, but what else am I going to have? An extra A, and where is it going to go? Inside. Good job. All right, number 11. Even or odd? Even. So what do I do with that 120? Divide by 2. So what's my exponent going to be? 60. So I'll have A to the perfect. All right, last one in this section. Even or odd? So what do I do first? Subtract 1, and then perfect, and we get 50. Okay, so I'm going to have A to the 50, and what else? 1 left over, right? Goes inside. Good job. Okay, so now that we have a rule, these are pretty easy, right? With a variable. Now we're going to look at some that have numbers and the variables in them, okay? So, remember, we treat the numbers like we previously did, and then we have our new rules for our variables. So we're going to work them out separately. So my first value underneath here is a number, 144. So I can break that down, but first we think, is there a perfect square root of 144? What is it? 12. So I get to go ahead and just take out a 12 because it's 12, right? This would be like 12 and 12. It's a pair, no leftovers, right? Okay. For my variable, is my exponent even or odd? Even. So what do I do if it's even? What is 2 divided by 2? 1. So I get to bring out 1y. Remember, if my exponent's 1, I don't have to write it, right? Okay. Number 14. Is there a perfect square root of 81? 9. Right, I would get a pair of 9s. So I bring out a 9. All right, so then we've got a couple variables. So let's start with A. What's A's variable? Exponent. 4. Even or odd? Even. So I'm going to do what? All right, and what is 4 divided by 2? 2. So I'm going to have A squared, right? Okay, there's another letter. For B, what's our exponent? Even or odd? Even. So what do I do with that 6? Good. We get 3. So I'm going to put what next on the line? B to the,
Right.
good. Alright, and then last we've got C, even or odd exponent? Even. So what do I do with that 10? Good, and what do we get? So next on the line, I'll put C to the, nice. Alright. Okay, flip it over on the back, we just got a few more to do together. Alright, is there a perfect square root of 24? Is that one on our chart, 24? No. Okay, so we're going to have to think of things that multiply to give us 24. What do you guys think of?
24.
We do 6 and 4? Okay, we can use 6 and 4. Alright, what multiplies to give me 4? 2 and 2, that's gone. And 2 and 2 make a pair. Okay, so I've got a pair of 2's. I can split the 6, but is it going to help me any? So we probably don't want to split it, right? I'm just going to leave it alone. All right, so what do I get to take out? A 2. I'm going to leave a little space after my 2 because I might get to take something else out. But yes, we need a square root, and underneath it we're going to put the 6, right? The leftover 6. All right. Okay, now we're going to talk about that variable. So for my exponent is 5. Is 5 even or odd? Odd. So if it's odd, what do I do first? Subtract 1, which is going to give us
2. Or
3. So I'm going to put x to the third. Any leftovers? Was it even or odd?
that was out.
It was odd, so we always have how many?
1 extra.
1 extra. So the extra always goes underneath here, right? So if it's odd, don't forget about your 1 extra. Okay, 16. Is there a perfect square root of 75? No. So what multiplies to give us 25?
Does 5 minus 1 equal 2?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for catching that, Mitchell. 2. All right, so for 75, you guys said there's not a perfect square root. So what does multiply to give us 75?
3 and 21.
Okay. And what multiplies to give us 25? 5 and 5. And what does that give us? A pair. And when I find a pair, what do I get to do? Take it out. So I get to take out a 5. Hey, can I break down the 3 anymore?
No.
So it's my leftover. And where does the leftover go? Inside. So leave yourself a little bit of space there, just in case we got some letters we need to put in. Okay. So for my x, the exponent is 2. Is that even or odd? Even. And what do I do if it's even? Divide by 2. And that's going to give me 1. So I get to bring out 1x. Since it's even, was there any left over? No. Okay, so now we do y. Is 3 even or odd? Odd. So what do I do? Subtract 1, which gives me, and then 1. So I get to bring out 1y. But because it was odd, I'm going to have 1 leftover y inside of there. All right. Okay, 17, right here. Is there a perfect square root of 128?
No.
No. Okay, so what multiplies to give us 128?
2 and 64.
Okay. And what multiplies to give us 64?
8 and 8.
Very good.
8.
All right, so 8 and 8, what's that?
Pair.
A pair. So I'm going to get to take out an 8, right? And what was already out there?
Negative
1. What's negative 1 times 8?
8. Negative.
Negative 8. So I have a negative 8 out there, right? Okay. Did I have anything left over without a pair?
2.
And where does it
2
go?
inside.
Okay. All right. for my A and my B, what's my exponent for A? 1. Can I divide 1 by 2? So it can't come out, right? Gotta stay. What about B?
No.
Same thing, right? So it's going to have to stay where it is because I can't divide it. So it's just -8 square root of 2AB. Okay? All right, last one. 32. What multiplies to give us 32? 4 and what?
8.
Good. And what multiplies to give us 4?
2.
2 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the 4 is gone. What about the 8?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. And what about the 4?
2 and 2.
2 and 2. All right, so we've broken them all down as much as we can. Do we have any pairs?
2 pairs, 1 left over.
Very good. So since I have 2 pairs of 2, what am I going to have to do here?
A squared.
Multiply them. So I have a 2 from the first pair, a 2 from the second pair, and I'm going to multiply them. And what number was already out there? A 3. So what is 3 times 2? 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. All right, now we're going to worry about our letters. So for A, my exponent is 13. Even or odd? Odd. So what do I do first? Subtract 1, and then divide by 2. And what do we get? 6. All right, so I get to take out A to the 6th, okay? Were there any A's already out there?
Yeah.
What do we have out there? A squared. And when we have more than one thing out there, what do we do with them? Multiply them. But whenever we are multiplying, what do we do with exponents? We add them. So I would get A to the 8th. So this would be 6 plus 2 is my exponent, which gives me A to the 8th. All right, now I'm going to take care of my, 13 was odd, right? So do I have any leftovers? Yes, how many? 1 left over. So inside of here, what did we have left over earlier? A 2. And now I have 1 left over A, right? Okay, now for B. 14, is it even or is it odd? Even. So what am I going to do? So I get, okay. Were there any B's already on the outside? So I don't have to worry about that. So I get to take out B to the 7th. Any leftovers? Nope, because it was even, right? Okay, so you guys already knew the rules for numbers. Today we just added in the rules for the letters, all right?